50 metres. Now that's what you can do if you work hard at it. That's the best one I've ever shot. It's the only one I've ever kept. Plus these. That's 10 shots, standing. 5 standing. And you can do that if you work. And the best thing about you people is the fact that what we're trying to do, Jeff and I, is put our head on top of your eyesight. And I'd love to have my 18-year-old eyesight back again, I'm bloody telling you. That type of shooting can only come by control of the position itself. And the position itself that we're working here, on this mat again, that's position number 1 that we worked on. The second one is the Russian position, which is dead straight behind the rifle, feet out there like that. But also it does have the same effect because you're laying on it. Now the position that I'm using at the moment is called, it's difficult to explain in that sense. It's straight line, and I'll demonstrate it to you later on in the piece, where we've got a position set where the left arm is coming, the left side of the position is coming straight down. This is called the Estonian position, developed by the Estonians. It has the advantage that all the weight is down this side of the body and on the elbow and the forward arm, and very, very little on that side of it at all. Then you've got the American variation, which is much the same as what that one is, but the right knee is pulled out like that, the right leg. And the actual contact point on the body is down that side, and it's minimal. So the control of the pulse rate and the position is extremely developed, very developed, to the point where you can fire shots, and halfway through the movement match itself, you suddenly think to yourself, gee, I'm going all right here. And that's when you learn to control anxiety. The position is itself, and most of the kids that I saw shooting a Cessnock in this group there. Who was in Cessnock? Stick your hand up. Good stuff, mate. Yep. Most of you are shooting a pretty good position based on that, which is, I'll explain it to you when we get outside later on in the piece, because there are areas that you need. But this particular set, that's the main basic, and that is really a history of the last 55 or 60 years of target shooting. The Americans developed this, the Estonians developed that, the Russians that one, and this is the military position. That one is designed so that you're as low and as flat as possible from the firing point, because you don't want to get shot in the butt by someone who's got up in the air. So target shooting developed from that. This one is probably the one that I'll work at mostly and demonstrate my own. Within that, there's a great deal of detail, just in setting the position up, and I'll show you what I mean. We got any questions on this before we go through? Right. That's just a short history lesson, and that's the idea behind it. Now on the side of the position itself, when viewed from the side, you've got an inverted triangle. Point A is your left elbow. That's if you're a right-hander. This is your hand stop area, where your hand contacts the sling. This is the shoulder position. So you've got point A as your left elbow, which once it's placed on the firing point does not move. That's the fulcrum of your position. The whole crux of that is dependent on just how the rifle fits in the shoulder itself. this hand stop position, which is B, and C is the butt pressure. Now I'm going to ask you a question. This angle here is governed by the sling, which is put across that area there. It comes from that point. So the sling sits in there. And as I demonstrate my position to you later on in the piece, probably after we have a cup of tea or something in about an hour, that sling, with the sling buckle point there, and that control, that sling governs this angle, and it doesn't change. That sling stays, just locks that in position. We will find it, and you will find it as you go along. Now, the training system that I'll put you through is dependent, this point here is dependent on the pressure there. So I'm going to ask you now a question. What happens when you move the hand stop forward? Think about that, it's physics. What happens to the rifle when you move the hand stop forward?
Drops down.
Sorry?
It drops down. Like
Yes, the angle increases today.
No, it doesn't.
Feels tight.
Don't think about it. Because
It pushes,
The angle stays the same.
it pushes the rifle back into your shoulder more.
exactly, that's exactly it. What happens, because you've got this sling locking that angle in place, that point there never moves, and you've got your hand in the forearm of that in your hand stop. When you move that hand stop forward, even a centimetre, the rifle actually moves back. And that's the control of the pressure of the butt in the shoulder. Now, there's a lot, depending on what I'm going to be telling you in the next couple of hours, that depends on that diagram. I always want you to remember, if you move the hand stop forward, wherever you put your hand. Jeff will tell you that the number of times you see shooters, particularly when they're struggling in a match, that pull their hand back from the front of the rifle in order to increase the pressure on the sling. Right? The problem is that the rifle doesn't fit in the shoulder. And I'll show you what I'm doing when I put mine together for you in a few minutes. Okay? Now, any questions on that? There's an area a minute ago, a comment a minute ago that the rifle drops down. The rifle does drop down, but it doesn't affect it when you move that back. But if the rifle drops down, the natural aiming point is now coming down further there instead of up there. So a lot of people pull the front hand back, which is a complete mistake, in order to retain that natural aiming point coming up. Now, every shooter in this room has got a natural aiming point. And the trick is that you've got to find it. And it's found by attention to the detail in the breathing. But the position itself is critical in that aspect. That triangle that you've got there, over there on the wall is a 5-ball aiming mark, an old 5-ball 50-metre target. And every one of those aiming points, the centre target on the tone, the 2 left ones and the 2 right ones, that centre target is the sighted target. But there's a distinct set of movements in order to approach the top left. And there's another distinct set of movements to approach the bottom left. And then the major movement to the top right. And then there's got another one going down. And that's a 20-shot string. I grew up on these things. And I can tell you when I made the Olympic team and suddenly found myself approaching a target that we could move downwards, and then the next one would come up in exactly the same place, I was in front so far that it just wasn't funny. Because all my position had been developed from that and my work on that particular 5-ball target. They're still in use today, and you'll see them on the range out here already when you get out there. And big full bore shooter targets, and they are big compared to these, in terms of actual measurements of the bullseye, is huge compared to what this is. If you can shoot a 10 on these targets as a centre bull on a full bore target at any range, irrespective of where it is, because the target's in the same place and you've only got one aiming mark. And the 5 bull target, as far as I was concerned, in learning how to develop my position, depended entirely on being able to know what the movement was from the side of the target in the middle to get up to the top. That's natural aiming point. Then you come down to the next one and find your natural aiming point again. Then you've got a major move from the top bottom left to the top right. And the number of target shooters that drop their 11th shot when they go from 10 up to the next one is amazing. I've seen it all over the world. Number of you see their targets come up 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 10, 10, 10, 5, 10, 10, 10. They just haven't done the attention to detail that's necessary to determine what their natural aiming point is on the top right-hand target. Now in full bore, which you people, how many shoot small bore in a room? No one shoots, you shoot?
Everyone shoots small ball during the term down here at the wing, but for competitions, we're only shooting full ball.
Yeah, fair enough. But you train with way to go. Way to go. Where's my target? Should be around here somewhere. You just don't want to lose it, that's all. No, the one with the hole.
Oh, here.
Over here.
Oh, here.
Over here.
Yeah, thank you. That's what you can do by paying attention to the detail. This is that tight that a 22 case will not drop through that hole, which meant that every single shot that I fired in that 10-shot string is in a line of projectiles in the butts. There's a line of them, one end for end for end for end for end. That's what you can do with the amount of training that you do after you've trained in order to find your natural aiming point. I can't stress just how critical that particular area of your target shooting is. Now look at this one. They don't come any better than that. That's an air rifle shot fired by my wife. That's complete, absolute perfection, and it's got another advantage. Because I've always kept that, and I look at that and I think, geez, that's nice. And that's reinforcement of the detail. And that's high-level psychology. We'll get to that down the track a bit. What I'm interested in mostly is finding, and if we get a chance, we're going to shoot this afternoon. We're going to shoot this afternoon?
Yes, yeah.
Good. I'll get a chance to have a look at the recoils. I've mentioned the sling here. How many people are shooting double point slings in the room?
Nobody.
No.
Good, thank God. Single points. We'll draw an arm down here. Thumb, fingers. That's your hand stop position. Now the sling should emanate from there, should be attached to the centre of that pin where it comes from there. And your sling comes down your arm. I'll go in another colour. The sling comes on the back of your hand, across the wrist, around the back of your elbow and back up in there. The buckle point on a single point sling should be away from the wrist. You don't want any tension on the wrist itself, particularly from a buckle that causes considerable amount of pain. And in small bore that's critical because you've got a 60 shot string mostly, or 3 by 20 shots. So you're working, in full bore, you've got 2-siders and 10 shots, or 2-siders and 15, depending on where it is. So that can be quite a problem. So where the buckle goes, it should be away from the wrist. And I'll demonstrate my sling later on. The sling comes around the back of your arm, is usually locked up in that point there. So you've got that attached to your jacket. And where the sling is, the tension on that side and the tension on that side should be equal. And all it takes to doing is just put your hand in under it and just check the sling pressures. And that side strap is equal to this side strap. And I'll show you in a moment when we demonstrate it after we have a cup of tea. Now, the fact that that is set up in there properly, that controls the shape and the height of the recoil. And in a small bore rifle, it should go no further than the top of the bore and back again. Full bore, if you've got a recoil that goes up and towards to, how many lefties in the room? We've got a lefty? 2 lefties, right. You people just automatically go opposite to what I'm talking. Is that how it works? Right, a recoil from a full bore rifle should go up and come straight back to the target, if necessary. And in small bore, the recoil shouldn't leave the boom and bullseye at all. Because the 22 doesn't move in turn, plus the fact the rifle are allowed to have 8 kilos in weight. So they don't go too far. But the recoil, reading the recoil is an integral part of the sling, this geometry, and how the trigger is released with the trigger hand. If you snap at a trigger, it'll go funny. But most recoils need, particularly with full bore, probably one of the best shooters to what. Any of you people here know Jim Bailey? Any of the kids know Jim Bailey? He shoots on Malabar. He's a lefty, left-hander, and he's got the most superb recoil you can ever watch. It just goes boom and comes back again. And talking to Jim, he tells me that when he fires a shot, in the follow through, the shot actually, the aiming mark is actually still in his ring. And it goes boom and it comes back to the ring. Now that's ideal, but it's very, very difficult to achieve. If your position is working properly, it'll return to the target like that. If it doesn't, you can often get them go up like that because of the rotation of the bullet in the barrel. And in some cases, I've seen recoil, even in my own case, I've seen recoil where the shot fired, I've got a bullseye for this shot, don't know how the hell that happened, but it went up and it come back down, and I looked and was in the sights and I thought, geez, what? And I was actually on top of the next door target. So that tells me that the right side of my position was weak. And I traced it, found out what it took to fix it. And we can go through that later on when I demonstrate it for you. So I want you all to check the sling pressures and the relaxation point and how far you can move the muzzle of the rifle itself once I'm in place. Okay? I think also the reading, there's a number of recoils. A recoil ideal should go to that. You get this one where it comes on there's your target there, and comes onto the top of the next target. I've even seen them stay up on the number. And that's just weak itself. And if it stays upwards, the problem is in the butt. And I'll be able to check that when I see you fire shots. It's as simple as that. Also, there's a recoil that's too tight, and I call this the benediction recoil, and it goes up. You people reverse, it goes up, down, and swings. Boom. And if you watch the follow through, that's what actually happens. If you've got a recoil like that, your position is too tight. You may also be taking a lot of the recoil on the forward hand, which tells me that that measurement from there to there and that to that, and from that to there is inaccurate and probably inconsistent. A lot of full bore shooters take the recoil on the left hand and it produces shots over the top of the bull. You know, boom, and if you get, you might have a series of targets like this where you've got to set, you know, set a good, and then you've got an inner there or an inner there. Where you get them up in that particular area and you can't, you don't know why and they weren't aimed there, it's more than likely coming from the recoil on the forward hand. If you feel that thud into your hand, it's the first telegraph that there's something wrong and you need to work it. You get hold of it. As soon as you think that there's something wrong, fix it. And that may mean pulling the rifle down and putting it back up again. Now in my technique, how many people in the room leave the rifle in the shoulder in the loading process? That's good, providing you do it the same every time. Now in my case, because my rifle was on, I'll show that to you, I always drop the rifle off the shoulder and put it back up again. And there's a specific and absolutely, it's just so detailed, it's not funny, but that needs to be done, in my case, all the time. Every single shot. I'll fire the shot, read the recoil, drop the gun, do the reloading process, put it back up again. I think the people who use the rifle in the shoulder and leave it in the shoulder all the time are fraught with the problem where they pull the hand back from the hand stop. You're nodding your head. Does that tell me something?
I've done that.
Before you have, we've all done that. Yeah. Because you'll see my rifle when I put it together in a moment or two. I cannot leave the gun in the shoulder in order to load it because the cheek piece is a problem for me. I like to have my cheek piece set so that I put my head down behind the sight and the pressure that I've got locks the butt in the shoulder. And there's a lot of that needs to be determined by you people. And it's not going to be easy, believe me. You know, I always thought a world champion is simply the one that's made the most mistakes and the one that's done the most work. And it's bloody funny, but the harder I work, the luckier I get. That's a little bit of psychology for you. The harder you work, the luckier you get. If you think you're going pretty good shooting prone, try getting up on your feet. Boy, that's totally different. My prone standard when I first started to shoot three position was around about 98 plus out of 100. When I started to shoot standing, it was 64 out of 100. I was just capable of holding a 6-ring. Now that 100 that I showed you there a minute ago, shot standing, was the first 100 I ever fired in competition, and it was shot in New Zealand. That's the product of 16 years of intense standing training. 60% standing, 20% kneeling, 10% prone, and 10% goofing off. Okay? These sort of things come from the dedication that it takes to get to the top level of target shooting. Prone shooting is a complete snack. It's easy. Why is it easy? Tell me. Why do you think it's easy? Why do you think I think it's easy?
Because you can sit down and rest.
Yeah. You've also got a top quality coat, you've got a sling, you're down on a massive flat surface. Everything's designed to hold the rifle still. And the attitude for prone shooting is quite simply 100%. And that's it. Standing you can get away with 92, 93%. Kneeling you can get away with 95, 96% in terms of tens. So now, position shooting, it takes a lot of work, and it's not something that the initial and early shooters take up straight away because it's hard. It's quite difficult, as I said to you before. How we going, Curly? Right. So, in that sense, the amount of work that you do, even when you're shooting prone, and when I demonstrate to you, I'll show you what I want you to do. Now, for those that leave the rifle in the shoulder and do the reloading process, I want you to be aware as soon as it becomes necessary for you to pull your front hand back in order to increase the strength in your shoulder or tighten the sling. Because there's a position fault that you need to isolate quickly. How many of you have shot possibles? 10 shot strings. How about 98 out of 100? Yep, good. So this sort of tells me where I'm at. How many are, what's your relevant grades on your grading card? A grade?
No, everyone's C.
Hmm?
Everyone in here is C grade.
Everyone's in C grade. Wow, we're
Absolutely.
going to have some fun here.
It's because they haven't done that many open meets.
Yeah, well, the kids that shot at Cessnock, I had a good look at a couple of them and I thought to myself, oh geez, look at this. The hole was good, the shot production was good, the result was good in some cases.
A lot of these boys would certainly be B grade shooters of the old grading system.
Yeah.
Since they've moved to the new grading system using as prize meetings in Queens to determine the gradings,
Yeah.
they've only really shot one or two of those. So
Yeah. How many have shot
the old
Queens?
grading system, I reckon most of these boys will be B graders.
Okay.
For sure.
Good.
And some certainly A graders.
Yeah. Well, a couple of the shots that I saw the boys fire at Cessnock, the only thing wrong with them is that one of them missed the wind and the shot went right where I thought it would be, which tells me that kid fired a pretty good shot. So I looked at it, I had my scope on it and I thought on the Mirage and I was watching the monitors and there's a 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or what, then a 4 come up and it was perfectly predictable. Now that's all that a coach can do. Really. I cannot see what you people are aiming at. I'm pretty good, but I'm not that good. I can't see what sight picture you people have got. No coach can see that. If we can get hold of a system where we can watch what the aiming system is of a shooter that we're trying to work with, it's going to be really good, but it's not possible. The only way I can tell if a shot's fired is by the recoil and the control of it, the actual hole dimension itself. Now I'm going to ask you a question again on this hand hole movement. If you've got a hole that's suddenly loose and feels loose, there's usually a reason for it, and 90% of the time it's the sling. But that can also be a problem of the fit of the shooting jacket. And I'll show you this in mine. I've got a really old shooting jacket in, it's like a second skin as far as I'm concerned. You know, I first got this jacket tailor-made for me in 1970 by Stenberg in Norway. 1973 it was, by Stenberg in Norway. And that coat is cut asymmetrical so that I'm a right-hander shooter, so the left sleeve points up. When I unpacked it from the booming case when he gave it to me, first thing I saw when I put it on the ground was the left arm was stuck up in the air like this. Then I twigged. If the right arm was down, the left arm was up. And I thought, that's my bloody prone position. That's a prone cut coat. And to my knowledge, it was the only prone cut coat in the whole of Australia. I also had a 3-position coat cut because that had normal levels, but the asymmetrical sleeve of a prone jacket is crucial in turn. You'll see it all the time with shooting coats. They bunch up at the back of your neck, all sorts of funny things. You know, you need a deep cut in the back so it doesn't crush the optic nerve in the back of your head. There's just so much that I can tell, I can show you people because of it. Like I said, I've made the most mistakes and I'm probably still making them. Any questions on it? We got. How we going up?